Alright, it's Friday, July 4th. Happy July 4th, America. Let's talk PlayStation. Okay, a lot of interesting things to talk about this week, so let's go right into it. The PlayStation Vita is outsold at a lot of retailers in America, so a lot of online retailers too, including. So Amazon, Walmart, Target, a lot of these places do not have Vitas in stock. Not only the previous 1000, which is of course being phased out, so that's why that's sold out, but the Borderlands 2 new Slim Bundle is also currently sold out at a lot of places. Now, of course, your local retailers may be different, but online stock is certainly a good idea of gauging the popularity and demand of Vita right now. Now, a lot of people might be thinking, whoa, that means, it's good news. And it is good news that Vita's, selling out, but keep in mind the reason why it did sell out to begin with is because there probably wasn't a whole lot of stock to begin with, because the demand for Vita isn't that high. That's why it's not selling that well to begin with. So very little stock, just a little bit of interest is all it takes for it to sell out. But hey, any demand is good demand, and a Sony representative has already responded to a few websites saying that they are working hard to replenish the stock. Now, speaking of Vita, and while we did just have semi-good news, we're going to be moving to some bad news. Vita and bad news, they kind of go hand in hand nowadays. EA's Peter Moore talked to GameIndustry.biz about how the company will be moving forward away from Vita and 3DS and moving closer to mobile development. Or at the very least, they'll be focusing more on mobile development. Your phones, tablets, all that junk. And, this is not surprising whatsoever. Even 3DS, which has a very good install base, and software certainly sells there, but even 3DS is not going to be able to compete with the kind of market that mobile has. It's a big, big, big market. A lot of money can be made there. EA, you know them. They like money a lot, and so that's why they would be shifting their movement to mobile rather than Vita and 3DS. Okay, now let's talk about PlayStation Now. This news story is very, very, very fresh. I'm talking like a few hours fresh, so more than likely after I upload this, we're probably going to get more details and further clarification on this, but right now, here's what's going on. So on NeoGAF, there is a thread about PlayStation Now prices, just people talking, how forums usually operate. But one NeoGAF user, Bastion, has posted that on his PlayStation Now beta for PlayStation 3, his certain games are playable for free because he purchased them digitally. So it's exactly what you think it is. This particular user bought these games on PSN, goes to the PS Now beta on PS3, and the games that he had already owned is now playable for free to him. Now, he did say that on PlayStation 4 on the PS Now beta, he cannot play those games there for free, but this is one of those situations where this just now happened, and Sony's always been open about, and certainly just now they've been very open about the fact that PlayStation Now is still very much a beta, so it's constantly changing and evolving, and they're certainly saying a lot of this right now because, they're getting criticized right now for the prices and everything. So it seems like right now at this very moment, they're doing a lot of changes server side to make this happen right now. Maybe that's why he can't play them on PS4 just yet. Who knows? So we're really not going to talk about this that much more until we find out more about what's going on, but it seems like Sony's doing some server-side changes to make this a reality, which, by the way, if this is what Sony's doing, this is definitely a step in the right direction. PS Now has been getting a lot of criticism, especially for its pricing, and a lot of people, have a real big problem with, ownership. Like, if I already own the game, why can't I play it again? If this is what they're doing, this is definitely a good move. This is a step in the right direction for sure. But as I've said already, this is a very fresh news story, so we'll talk about it more once we know more about what's going on. Moving on, this is for you Gran Turismo fans. Kazunori Yamauchi, the Gran Turismo father, and Polyphony Digital, the developer, has pretty much confirmed that Gran Turismo 7 is beginning development and is in development right now. The game certainly will not be ready by 2014. He does not think there will be a prologue version for the game, and he has not confirmed whether it would be just a PS4 exclusive or if it would also still be available on PS3. And also, a lot of the standard cars in the game will still be probably be kept for Gran Turismo 7. Now, we've talked about Gran Turismo a few times on this show, and I just love how Kazunori Yamauchi always tells people straight up, yes, we work on Gran Turismo games, yes, we're working on a new one. He says this how many years out, like, yeah, of course it's coming. So he's just totally telling you right now, like, yeah, GT7 is happening. Just a matter of waiting until you actually see some real stuff from them, like an announcement trailer and, actual press up until the game comes out. Speaking of Sony developers, second-party developer Quantic Dream has revealed that they've been working on PS4 projects since 2011, and keyword projects, so that means that there are multiple PlayStation 4 projects that they are working on. Now, this is no big surprise, and it's no big surprise that there are multiple projects. This doesn't necessarily mean they're working on 2 PS4 games to be released, but rather, you know, multiple projects. And Quantic Dream's been known for doing like tech demos and stuff, so a lot of those multiple projects could just be tech demos, but certainly there is a game in there. This is also no big surprise that it's early as 2011, because companies, businesses, they all look forward very, very far ahead. In fact, I guarantee you right now, Sony is currently working on the PlayStation 4 Slim, and maybe probably in the next year, they will start developing PlayStation 5. It only takes them about roughly 1 to 2 years after a system launches for them to start development of the next platform. It's happened with every PlayStation. It usually happens at Nintendo, Microsoft. That is exactly how business works. So they definitely think that far ahead. So now let's talk a little bit about Shuhei Yoshida, Sony's president of Worldwide Studios. Now, if you're always wondering why Shuhei is so important, it's because he is the president and manager, and he greenlights and stops and approves all these projects across all of Sony's developers. And he was saying a lot of interesting things this week in some interviews. Like, for example, when Shuhei was talking to Game Reactor this week, he pretty much said straight up that talking about powers at E3 was a big mistake, or at the very least, the amount of time they spent on powers at E3 was a big mistake. And this isn't necessarily new news, because he also confirmed this when he was doing an interview on Podcast Beyond, saying like, yeah, we maybe spent too much time on the TV portion with that original TV series Powers. If there's one thing I really like about this generation of consoles, it's that Sony and Nintendo and even Microsoft are very quick to rectify and acknowledge their own problems. Even if they don't fix it, they will finally be a little more transparent with the consumer and tell you straight up, like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that, or yeah, we'll fix this, blah, blah, blah. So I really like that. And then Shuhei did an interview with GameIndustry.biz, and he more or less said, and I'm going to try and quote here, but I may get a word or two wrong. He said, I don't get people who only want AAA, as in I don't get people that only want AAA games. And then he went on further to say in the interview, when they revealed Little Big Planet 3, he was kind of conscious and worried about that, because a lot of people, at least what he said, he thinks a lot of people expect big budget, crazy explosion, military shooters. He said, he used the word military shooter for sure, or the phrase. He said he does realize there are certain people that only want those big AAA budget titles, but he said he just simply doesn't understand those people. Whew. Shots fired at the gaming community, who get super pissed and upset about, the bigger prevalence of indie titles and smaller scale downloadable games. Now, what's funny about this interview is that I think I speak for a lot of people when I say we don't want military shooters. We have plenty of those and we get enough of those, but we do like a lot of what Sony usually does, which is, at least with the PlayStation 3, we got a lot of higher budget, retail releases that weren't military shooters. It was a lot of oddball stuff. They fund a lot of projects that we normally wouldn't see out of other companies, and that's what I particularly like about Sony. And he even said himself, when we do games like Little Big Planet, he gets worried that people don't want that stuff. But I think Shuhei's kind of, pigeonholing the gaming crowd too much by saying we all want military shooters. We definitely don't want all of those. They're really on the defense lately, because a lot of people are looking for these big budget titles, and can't exactly blame them because there's not many of them around. But as I've always said, console's 7 months old. Gotta wait. These things don't happen overnight. Okay, this next one's for the Naughty Dog fanatics, and more importantly, the resolution frames per second fanatics. The Last of Us Remastered is pretty much done at this point, and there's a lot of good stuff to be heard about it. 1080p, it's confirmed 60 frames per second. It should not have any drops at all in the game. A lot of people that are inside Naughty Dog, of course, they're biased when they say this, but they say the game looks incredible, and it is still due for July 29th. Telling you, man, Naughty Dog, they're working their development magic, and Uncharted 4, E3, that's 1080p, 60 frames per second on PS4. That's what they're shooting for when the game launches. If there's one thing Naughty Dog's proving, man, it's that you can do some amazing, amazing, amazing things on a console with, locked hardware. Like, even on PlayStation 3, games still looked incredible on that platform from many of Sony's developers. And it always gets into that conversation of, PS4 is just a mid-range PC and whatnot, and consoles are underpowered, and they're locked off boxes and everything. Hey, man, I've said it before, I'll say it again. These machines can be optimized like you could not believe. And there's going to be constant software development improvements. There's going to be workarounds for the bottlenecks of the system, ways to kind of, again, just optimize what you're working with. Games are only going to look better and better and better on PlayStation 4 over years to come. And for the people that keep saying PS4's got a PC architecture, you're not going to see that kind of improvement, certainly a viable argument there. But to say that there won't be a slight improvement over titles now to 5 years from now, you're crazy. It's going to happen. So to close out this week's episode of LTPS, and you've probably already heard about this one already, but the DualShock 4 is now supported wirelessly on the PlayStation 3. So I believe somebody on Reddit found this out, and then the 6axis.com picked this up. But this is very true. It does work now. So what you want to do is go to the accessory settings on your PlayStation 3, register a Bluetooth device, make sure the DualShock 4 is connected via a wire to the PlayStation 3, and then try and search for the device. You got to unplug it, and then hit the PlayStation button, replug it again, and then you select wireless controller on the XMB, and then you can unplug it again, and then it should be good once you got a solid light going and you can use the controller wirelessly. Still does not support the PlayStation button, the 6-axis, and the DualShock 4, or the touchpad or anything like that, but I mean, hey, it does work wirelessly. The controller did work wired, but like some semi-better supports there. For actual more in-depth instructions, I'll link you to the original video and tutorial below. Alright, that about does it for me on this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation, but be sure to check out this week's episode of Ryan on Gaming. The topic was, is the PlayStation 4 touchpad a gimmick? Which a lot of people not happy with my opinion on this one, which is fine. You're more than welcome to disagree with me, but I think a lot of people are really getting hung up on the word gimmick when I'm really trying to make it more about how much of a profound impact the touchpad has on gameplay, which, guess what? It doesn't. But check that video out if you want to see some of my points I made on that topic. So that concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Benecki. Thank you so much for talking with me. I'll talk to you all next Friday. Oh, hey, you're still here. So, last week I was talking about Final Fantasy X-2's Platinum. I got it. And I recorded it too to share it with you. Take a look.